operations with integers today. So first, but on our screen, on your paper, you need to write the order of operations. So it starts with what? Well, PEMDAS, and it starts with parentheses and then exponents, then multiplying and dividing from left to right, then adding and subtracting from left to right. I would write that at the top of your page because you're going to use this over and over and over and over today. Okay? So, and also remember, multiplying is from left and dividing. If dividing comes first, you do that. If adding comes first or subtracting, you do that. They come as a pair. Okay? So get that written down. And then we're going to review we're going to review your multiplying and dividing integers rules. Now, there were a couple of ways I showed you, and I kind of showed you again on your warm-up. So, multiplying and dividing, totally different than adding and subtracting, right? Separate parts of your brain. You sing your song to add and subtract. You use the tic-tac-toe board or the triangle for multiplying and dividing. I would write this on your paper too because you're going to use this. If you want to use the tic-tac-toe board, you put positives in a diagonal, and then you put negatives everywhere else. And how you use that is, okay, positive times a positive is positive, but you can read it from left to right. Positive times a negative is a negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. Negative times a negative is a positive. Every single time, because when multiplying and dividing, it does not matter how big the numbers are. If that doesn't make sense to you, you can use the triangle method, where you put a positive and then two negatives. So if you're multiplying a positive and a negative, you get a negative. If you're multiplying a negative times a negative, you get a positive. Both of those say the same things, but one of them you may like or may understand better than the other one, and that's fine. Let's also review, while we're at this, let's review exponents. Now, these are exponents with negatives. You need to write these down because this is different. This is not just your normal positive exponents. So, when you have a negative number, this, when you expand it, is negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. Okay? The negative is actually with that number. This one is not. You see how the negative is not inside the parentheses? You see that? The negative is not inside the parentheses. The negative is on the outside. So, you have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And then at the very end, the answer will be negative. Not, these 2's aren't negative because the negative wasn't inside the parenthesis. Y'all see that? It would also be the same if it was like 4 minus 2 to the 4th. If there's not a parenthesis with the negative inside of it, the negative does not go with the base number. Okay? So notice the big difference here. Has to be in the parentheses in order to have the negative on the base. So, negative 5 times negative 5 is what? Positive 25. Positive 25 times negative 5. Negative 125. On this one, 2 times 2 is, oh guys, 2 times 2 is 4. There we go. Bring everything down. 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. It will be negative because of the negative on the outside. Okay? So, that's something we have to keep in mind because these are going to happen. They will come up. Any more questions on those? All right. We're going to review one more other thing while we're reviewing, called the distributive property. Remember this one? Did you learn this last year in 6th grade? When you multiplied the number on the outside to both numbers on the inside, remember doing that? Huh? It is a letter. Those are called variables. So, let's look at this. We have negative 4 times positive 18 and negative 4 times negative 12. If you are asked to distribute, literally when I distribute papers, that's handing them out. When you distribute, you are multiplying that negative 4 to whatever's inside the parentheses. Now, I want you to look at something. In the parentheses, you got to pay attention to their signs. So 18, is 18 positive or negative? Positive. What about 12? Negative. That's going to make a difference in your work. We're distributing. We're doing negative 4 times 18 and then negative 4 times negative 12. Okay? So, 18 times 4. Let's do that real quick. What's 4 times 8? 32. 3. 4 times 1 is 3. 4 plus 3 is 7. That's a negative times a positive. So if we think about this, a negative times a positive is a negative. So this is negative 72. That part. This is negative 4 times negative 12. A negative times a negative is a positive. What's 4 times 12? 48. Positive 48. Am I done?
No, you're not.
Do I add them or do I subtract them?
Subtract.
Why do you subtract them?
Subtract.
Right, you gotta go, you just went from multiplying rules and now you gotta go to adding and subtracting rules. Same signs, keep and add, different signs. Subtract. So subtract 72 minus 48. It's negative 24.
Yeah.
Because you gotta borrow, guys. Yeah, you can't just do 2 minus 8. You gotta borrow. That's 12 minus 8, which is 4, and the 2, and then that's a negative because the bigger number is negative. Now, you may say, well, why didn't we just subtract what's in parentheses? Well, the reason you learn how to distribute is because of the ones like the one underneath it. You see how there's a letter there? That's the first thing Caitlin said was, oh my goodness, there's a letter. Yeah, that's a variable, and that's going to happen, okay? So, you distribute that out with the letter. The letter is a number you don't know. That's a variable. It's a number you don't know. That's 2 times a number we don't know, okay? When it's the number next to the variable like that, that's called a coefficient and a variable.
Oh, it also
It does, yep. So, 2a times positive 4. So you multiply the whole numbers together. What's 4 times 2? 8a. And then we'll do 2a times, what kind of 3 is that? Negative. Remember that subtraction sign is a negative. That's the same thing. So 2a times negative 3, positive times a negative is a negative. So that's negative 6a. Because remember, the a's being multiplied to it. Can I subtract those?
No.
I had 8 apples and I have 6 apples.
2 apples.
So I have 2 apples. Now, that only can happen if you have the same letter there.
Or 2 alligators.
Yep. And it can only happen if you have the same letter. It cannot happen if you do not have the same letter. Okay?
It also cannot happen if you have alligators.
I want you to try these 2 by yourself. Now, what's invisible in front of that y? What number?
1.
A 1. Okay, so distribute both of those, and then we'll check our answer. 1, so let's really pay attention to how we're distributing, because this is going to come into play, I promise. Negative 8 times negative 10. A negative times a negative gives you what? A positive 80. Negative 8 times 14. A negative times a positive gives you a negative, what? 112. At this point, this is where you add or subtract. What do I do?
I'm guessing add.
We need to subtract
Okay, I got it wrong.
because we have a positive and we have a negative. Same signs, keep and add, different signs. Subtract, you should get negative 32. Why is it negative?
Because the
Oh,
one
no.
is bigger.
That's the bigger number has the negative.
I added, so I got it.
Okay, yeah, because they're different signs, we don't add. Right? That's where I'm saying you have to completely separate your adding and subtracting and your multiplying and dividing.
I thought that was a positive. That was
No, because it was a negative times a positive. Yeah. So negative times a positive is a negative. All right, last one. Negative 1y times positive 3. What is that? Negative times positive is a...
Wait.
Come on, guys. Look at... I literally have this drawn out. A negative times a positive is a negative. That's negative 3y. Negative times a positive is negative 4y. Are they the same signs or are they different? Same signs, keep, and add.
Negative 71.
Right.
I just tried.
Now that is part of order of operations. You might have to do that at some point. Okay? You'll definitely have to do that when we start our combining like terms soon. When we start getting to our pre-algebra stuff. Now, let's actually start doing the problems. All right, I want you to write this problem down real quick. Go ahead and write the problem. You have PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplying and divide from left to right, adding and subtracting from left to right. Do we have any parentheses?
Yes.
Yes. Inside the parentheses, you did the order of operations. So what comes first? The division. Now, remember you have your little triangle here. So negative 8 divided by positive 2 is negative 4. Bring everything down. Everything down.
Oh, that's subtraction.
If you just do, all of this in your head and you mess up, it's really difficult to figure out what you've done. So do that one part and bring it all down. With me? Do that one part, bring it all down. Yes, considering this is what you're learning. Yes. All right. Finish out those parentheses. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Do I get rid of the parentheses? Do I?
Well, the
Wait,
first one.
no, because that wouldn't make any sense.
There's nothing in between. So what does that mean to do?
I think
Multiplication.
You will end up multiplying, but we're not there yet. We got to finish out this other parenthesis.
You have to do the thing. What is that?
Exponents. Yeah, exponents are next. Now, is the negative going to be on the base number or is it not? Is it in parentheses?
Yes.
It's in parentheses with it. So that's negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 is negative positive 9. Whew, y'all got me. Positive 9 and positive 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. So this is negative 27. Now you can keep that in parentheses if you want to keep the plus sign, but remember plus and negative is the same as subtracting. Bring everything down.
Oh.
Now, I've done my parentheses, I've done my exponents. Do I have any multiplying or dividing? Yes. Negative 10 times 0. 0. 0 cannot be negative or positive. It's just 0. And then plus negative 27. Your answer is negative 27.